want to thank everybody for coming tonight. It really means a lot to me. We're all here to celebrate Colin's life. I particularly want to acknowledge Russell, Colin's son, who's here from Australia. Colin's sister, Baron, is here from Spain. And two cousins, Amir and Mindy, from North Carolina, as well, close relatives. And everybody else is good friends. So tonight's service is being Zoomed to other family and friends around the world, of which there are many. I ask that everyone who talks tonight stand close to the mic. I hope I'm close enough. And speak clearly so that your voices will carry across the Zoom connection. First, I wanted everyone to know that Colin passed away the way he wanted to. Not when he wanted to, but the way he wanted to. He was peaceful and quick, and there was no sign of any pain or upset or struggle. He was at peace. But it was a shock to the rest of us. So we're here to celebrate his life. So I picked two songs to be sung tonight, and my musicians were kind enough to learn them for this occasion. The first one I feel aptly captures Colin's spirit and attitude towards life. So I'm going to talk later, but I first want to introduce our MC for the evening, Rick Alexander, and then we'll have the song.
Hello. Again, thank you for coming. Really appreciate it. I don't know Colin well, but I knew his mother 50 years ago. And I know Debbie better than that, but I basically knew her dad when I was in high school. I read 3 of his books, improved my vocabulary. He wrote books that are internationally famous on Norman Lewis, word power or improving word skill. And I remember in high school, oh my God, understanding the language better, thanks to Norman Lewis. And I found Scientology in 1965 when I was doing my doctorate and became an ordained minister in 1969. So I've been doing this for a long time. And it's my honor to have been chosen to do the ceremony. And now we're going to begin with some music. Songs. Great.
Now the time has come for me to face the final curtain. Friends, I will say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway, and more than this, I did it my way. Rex, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. Did what I had to do. I saw it through without exemption. I planned each chartered course, each careful step along the byway, and more than this. I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it all and spit it out. I faced it all. find it all so amusing. Think I did all that, and may I say, I didn't shy away. Oh no, no, not me. I didn't hide. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. Yes, it was mine.
Wow. Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so now some words from Colin's son Russell and his daughter Simone, which will be read by a good friend Tony Lonston. Okay, over here? That. Yeah. Okay.
Hello. I'm honored to be asked to read the message on behalf of Colin's children, Simone and Russell. Today, we would like to honor the remarkable life of our beloved dad, Colin. Dad was more than just a people person. He was a beacon of resilience, creativity, and unwavering optimism and love. Among the tapestry of Dad's various talents, arguably his greatest gift was his stoicism. Life, with all its twists and turns, threw its fair share of challenges his way. Yet, Dad emerged stronger and more determined than ever to carve his own path to happiness and peace. Born in Cape Town, South Africa, Dad had a difficult childhood. He was the son of a single mother who had no qualifications and worked in insecure employment to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table. Dad was rebellious and had difficulties at school. This, coupled with the discovery that he had been climbing out of his bedroom window at night and running around the neighborhood with his mates, led his family to conclude that he was out of control. His mother was at her wits' end, and with agreement from her sister, sent Dad to Johannesburg to live with his aunt, uncle, and 3 cousins. He was only 11 years old at the time, and this was extremely traumatic for him. His mother was only rarely able to afford to visit. She then moved to England and only saw her son once during his teenage years. During this time, Dad did not see his father either. Although his aunt and uncle did their best, we cannot imagine how hard it was for him to adapt to this reality. He applied himself to his schoolwork, but he did not excel academically. He was, however, very popular at school, and especially amongst the girls, and was talented in so many areas. He was excellent in any sport he took an interest in, particularly swimming. His mother, Naomi, had excelled in swimming and diving and made junior high and club teams, and Dad was no different. Dad was also gifted in music. He could listen to a piece of music and within half an hour pick it out on his neighbor's piano or his guitar. He did this by ear as he had never learned to read music. He would put on grand productions in his aunt and uncle's rumpus room, involving all the children in the cul-de-sac. He would design the sets, music, and the children would all be trained in their parts. Dad was a gifted artist. He would paint whenever he could get supplies. He also did art and sculpture at school. A very well-known sculptor in Johannesburg approached his aunt and uncle, telling them that he thought Dad had exceptional talent, and that if they were prepared to bring him to his studio, he would teach Dad free of charge. Unfortunately, in those days, both his aunt and uncle were working, and all four of the children, unless extracurricular activities could be done at school, there was no one to take them to and from special lessons. Dad studied accountancy at university, even though this would not have been his first choice. He found career success quite quickly, being appointed to Group Financial Director by 1985. Despite his limited means, from the time Dad first started working, he also took care of his mother. There are many letters from Naomi to her sister where she mentioned how dependent she was on the money which he sent to her each month. It kept body and soul together. By all accounts, Dad never resented or criticized his mother or father for the paths they took. He was endlessly hopeful and optimistic. Like his mother, he believed that success and lucky break was just around the corner, whilst always working hard to try and make this happen. His career was off to a strong start, but in 1987, he made the difficult decision to uproot his life and move to Australia. Our parents were worried about the future of our family and the increasing unrest in South Africa. In many ways, this involved starting again from scratch, re-establishing his career, building a new circle of friends, and creating a home for his family. Thankfully, Dad overcame each of these challenges, and we are eternally grateful for his bravery in taking the risk to emigrate. It laid the foundations for the safe and privileged lives we both enjoy with our own families today. Dad was a dedicated and devoted father. He was very hands-on, taking us to the park to kick a ball, to play cricket, or to attend live sporting events. He taught us to fish and body surf at the beach and to watch the ball and never turn your back on a wave. And at bedtime, he would entertain us with fantastical stories he had made up on his drive home from work. Growing up, we were the beneficiaries of Dad's strong work ethic. He was a reliable provider and we enjoyed a comfortable life. Our parents saw to it that we didn't want for anything. Dad worked a full-time job and then also worked weekends in his own business so that we could afford to attend a private high school and go on holidays. He never once complained when his alarm clock went off at 5 a.m. on a Saturday morning or when he got home from a long day at work. He was a provider, and he was a proud, diligent worker until the day he died. We cannot thank him enough for the sacrifices that he made for us. Dad was synonymous with warmth and hospitality. He always loved a joke and took pride in being the life of the party. His laugh was infectious and lists of stories were endless. Whether he was sharing a meal with friends or traversing continents to be with family, he radiated a warm, infectious energy that drew people in. Dad loved to entertain. His idea of a perfect Saturday was heading to the fish markets at an ungodly hour and fetching the freshest and biggest king prawns to cook over charcoal for friends and family. The cooking process was akin to a religious ceremony. He could be heard talking to himself about how lovely the prawns were looking as they changed color, or how wonderful they were going to taste as he basted them with his special garlic butter. Dad was also an animal lover. He somehow managed to convince our mother to let him buy a pet ferret, Banjo, who he adored and took for long walks on Bondi Beach during the evenings. And we would be remiss not to mention Dad's favorite and most talented child, Coco, his beloved dog. He would gush endlessly over Coco's remarkable intelligence and share countless photographs of her dressed in various outfits and accessories as she prepared to greet the postman or comfort the sick or elderly. Even though COVID kept us apart from Dad for the past few years, he thankfully made the long-awaited trip to Australia in February. It brings us great solace that our children will now have wonderful memories of their grandfather. He saw Max win this tennis tournament, Harry play rugby and win a Man of the Match award, Sienna make the school netball team. He watched the kids put on magic shows and read countless books to Rafi. We were able to feel his love and the warmth of his generous hugs one last time, and we will take that with us. During his recent visit, it was impossible not to notice how happy he was with absolutely every aspect of his life. We heard about the wonderful community he and Debbie had moved into recently, complete with every amenity one could dream of, and more importantly, friendly, caring neighbors. About his job, which kept him busy flying all over the country, of his excitement at finally owning his dream car and becoming a US citizen. And of course, how happy he was in his beautiful home with Debbie and Colin. And though his physical presence may be gone, the memory of Dad's radiant smile, indomitable spirit will continue to illuminate our lives, guiding us through our own challenges. It is truly a blessing to know that in the end, Dad was happy, at peace with the world when he left us. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that much information. I didn't know that background. That's fantastic. Okay, now we will hear from Colin's sister, Beren Perry, who's flown in from Spain to be here with us.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Beren Perry, and I am honored and privileged to be here as Colin's sister, all the way from Spain, and to talk about his wonderful family connections in South Africa and what he meant to us, his siblings, over the years. I'm here on behalf of Colin's other South African siblings, our brothers, the late Bruce Sherman and Lance Sherman, and our sister, the late Lynn Cabinet, as well as many cousins and relatives in Cape Town and Johannesburg who also remember and love Colin very much. Colin was born in Johannesburg, and from a very young age and right throughout our childhood and early adulthood, I remember Colin visiting our family in Cape Town, especially for important events, and very much being the older, sophisticated brother that we all looked up to. I was looking through hundreds of messages that Colin has sent me over the years recently, always concerned, always caring, always encouraging, and always aware of our close family connection with the entire Sherman family. He was an incredibly kind person, and he really cared so much about his family, and we witnessed this over the years. His life took him from South Africa as a young adult to settle in Australia with his wonderful children, Simone and Russell. And they grew up there, and then after many years, he found his way into the USA with Debbie, and he was so proud to become a USA citizen. There have been many tough losses for us in the Sherman family, and Colin always managed to be there for us, despite the many thousands of kilometers that separated us all. In 2004, Colin and Narina came to Cape Town for a wonderful reunion and celebration of our father's 80th birthday. They came all the way from Sydney, as we did from Europe, and also many members of our family, including close cousins and siblings, were all together sitting at a lovely restaurant in Cape Town, when suddenly our father David lost consciousness at the table due to a stroke. And he never regained it again. Colin was there for us during that tough time, as well as Irina, and it was an incredible moment that we all experienced the loss of our father together, despite being all over the world, and never to be forgotten how much he cared and how much he was there for us. And again, in 2020, our family experienced a tremendous series of losses, with both our brother Bruce and Lynn passing, and then my mother 3 days later. After Lynn, Colin flew to Cape Town immediately as soon as my brother Bruce passed, very, very suddenly. And I remember so clearly walking hand in hand together with him after the ceremony for Bruce to the entrance of the cemetery, and both of us sharing our feelings of the tremendous shock of this very unexpected and sudden loss. It was a poignant moment. Later that year, our sister Lynn passed away during COVID, and it was impossible to attend the funeral because South Africa was closed to everybody. Nobody could get in. But we did watch the video, and we spoke at length about her, because Colin had a very soft spot for his sister Lynn. Over the years, Colin has always made sure he kept up with what was happening in my life and offered words of wisdom and help through the challenges. And he was always there in the background, really encouraging me to attain the goals that I have today. The saddest part of this is that I was planning to visit Colin this year, and we spoke about it several times. And when the sudden loss happened, it was with deep regret that I was not able to see him in person as we had planned. Life teaches us so many lessons about how important it is to do what we care about today, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. This was a very tough lesson. Colin was always the older brother, and he would leave another huge dent, and he will leave another huge dent in our family dynamic. Because it's only myself and Lance that are left now, but we will both strive to make him proud, and we will cherish very deeply our memories of him. I wanted to be here today, especially to represent the Sherman family, and also to support Debbie, Russell, and Simone in their sudden and tough loss. I'm so grateful that his last years were spent in such happiness with his lovely and talented wife, Debbie, who he was so proud of. And hearing him describe his wonderfully happy life on so many levels, he made it abundantly clear that his new life gave him so much joy. Family bereavement also presents an opportunity to connect in much closer ways between those of us that are left behind. And it can help us to embrace the importance of sharing the memories of those loved ones that we have lost. It's also a reminder that those who are no longer with us always leave behind their love in our hearts, which we can always choose to share with each other. Thank you.
Wow, what an amazing family he has. Fantastic. Thank you so much for those words. So next, Colin was the operations manager at Modular Water at the time of his passing, and we'll now hear from a friend who he worked with, Mr. Prasad Parekh.
Good evening, everybody.
Bye.
So I met Colin about 2 years ago when he joined our group, and I'm the group CFO, and he was appointed as the operations manager for one of the divisions of the overall company. It's called Modular Water Systems, and he was brought in mainly to help with the operations management and sales and so forth. The moment we met, we had commonality. We had three things. First thing, I'm a chartered accountant from India. He was a chartered accountant from South Africa. So to find a chartered accountant and not use the word CPA was very refreshing for me. So we instantly got on the common page and then started referring to terms like not called as accounts receivable, but debtors, called creditors, but not accounts payable. So you get the idea, it's just the lingo. Second thing was, he was very passionate, about putting order, and he did put a lot of order at MWS, maintaining spreadsheets. We always knew where the cash flow was. It helped me immensely as a CFO to make sure, how cash was allocated, and constantly, very passionately kept, tabs on where things were. And the final thing, which was another common thing, he was from a place where I want to visit, which is South Africa. I'm dying to go there. I've never been there. And he lived in a place which I absolutely love, which is Sydney. So a few years ago, I happened to have a chance to travel to Sydney, and it's my most favorite city ever. So these were some of the common things which has got us, on the same page right away. He was very instrumental in putting order, as I said, and worked very closely with the president, Dan Early, who will share a message with him as well. In December, he was very excited about the new home, and he invited me and my wife to join them. At that time, I could not, but now I wish that I could have. He was very happy to be back from Sydney, and although I complain about how he forgot to bring me coffee from Australia, I definitely feel the void he has left at MWS, and I will certainly miss him. I would like to now play a message from Rick Zackelberry, the CEO, and Dan Early, the president of MWS, with whom Colin worked literally every day on the phone, 8 a.m. without fail, assessing the situation of the company, what the status of the projects are, like every single day at 8 a.m. They both used to get on the phone and be on the same page before they started the work. So Dan has high regards for Colin and what he has done for the company. So I would like to play that message now.
Asked Ray recently, and he was the operations manager at Marshall Water Systems. But here it is, in memoriam from Dan Early, the general manager of Marshall Water Systems.
Hello, my name is Dan Early. I am the chief engineer and general manager for Marshall Water Systems. I had the distinct pleasure of working with Colin Sherman for about the last 12 months or so. Colin joined on the water team in early 2023 and came in the role as operations manager. I'd never met Colin before, but I was introduced to him through Rick Zackelberry, the CEO, who had a relationship and introduced Colin to the company. Was instrumental in bringing him on board. As I got to know Colin, we very quickly struck up a very strong friendship. We were kindred spirits, shared a lot of common interests, and I found Colin to be an extremely wonderful human being. He was intelligent, he was smart, he was witty, very, very professional. He was just an outstanding, extraordinary man. Very impressed, very honored, pleased to have made his acquaintance and to have been his friend for the past year. Being a transplant from Australia, I found it humorous that we'd be talking business on the worst of the day, and Colin would make some remark, using some jargon or slang or term that was obviously an Aussie term. And I would laugh and I would ask, what does that mean? Can you explain what it means? And then I would give him the corresponding American slang term or vernacular that meant the same thing. Colin was really a special guy. And his impact and his influence on my life professionally is profound. I learned more from Colin in the 12 months that I worked with him about business-related matters and financial-related matters. I learned more from him in that time period than I have probably in the last 20 years combined. His skill, his expertise, and experience from his professional career background really shone through. overjoyed and just took him down to do a mystical work with him, work under him, and I learned from him during that short period of time. So I just want to share with you that Colin was just an extraordinary member of our team. He was so well liked, so well respected by all the members of the Clearwater team. And his passing, it just leaves us with a great big hole in our hearts. We just really just wish you, Danny, we wish you the very best. My heart pours out to you by this time of loss. But please know in the days and weeks and months ahead that Colin left a very profound impact, effect on the lives of everybody that he met, including myself. Even my wife, she was actually privy to listening on conference calls and stuff like that. So just a tremendous individual, and he'll be sorely missed. And I will take these memories and the pleasure of his friendship. Will go with me the rest of my days. So God bless. Take care.
I wanted to say a little bit of myself because I think it's an extraordinarily affecting message from Dan. And as he said, I was instrumental to bringing him on board. And Colin was a huge contributor of so much to our company. And he created all kinds of processes for the water demand, water as a service business as well as a lot of analytics and key accounting with the operations divisions. And he accomplished a lot, and the Tiger is with us, and so we are absolutely grateful that he was around. And I'm going to see if I can pull up a picture of when I first met him. I'll just show this picture, give you a sort of a feel for, there we are. This is a picture, gosh, it must have been around 2015 or something like that. Colin's far left, his wife, Debbie Lewis, myself, and my son George celebrating we had a fundraiser. And as you can see, the great active people. I've been talking to Debbie and she's doing well. There will be a memorial this weekend, and if you want more information about it, feel free to reach out to me by replying to one of our update emails. We are a small group, and I think we have the most amazing team, the most dedicated team. We're so privileged to work with. And so it is hard that Colin left us. Fortunately, from an operations point of view, we were able to fall back upon people like John Fines, who's an experienced project manager. So we've been able to fill the vacuum, but none in our hearts and none in our memories. So thank you, Colin, for spending time with us, and may your heart be in a better place. We will always take care of you.
Thank you.
Good guy. Been an amazing guy. Thank you. Okay, now we will hear from very good friends, Tony and Sharon listening together. Oh, second.
Hello. I had the privilege of being Colin's friend since 2018. I'm honored to be here today to celebrate the life of an amazing person. Colin was kind, funny, intelligent, and always had a smile on his face. He was the type of person who would go out of his way to help others. And he always made me feel like I was important. Colin was a people person and left a memorable impression on all those that met him. He was a true mensch. A mensch in Yiddish is a person of integrity, morality, dignity, with a sense of what is right and responsible. We had a lot in common, both being South African, Jewish, and Scientologists. We developed a strong friendship, and Colin would share anecdotes, life lessons, and experiences. They were very real to me, as many of the names and places I was familiar with, almost like we were long-lost brothers cut from the same cloth. Colin loved to entertain. I remember when he invited me for my first meal, and he was working towards a Michelin star. Yet he served up the worst lamb chops he could have ever made. We all had a good laugh, and he truly enjoyed being the chef despite the setback, bringing joy and pleasure to everyone. He spoke very fondly of his children and grandchildren, and you could feel the underlying devotion in his sentiments. He sent me pictures of the family while on his last trip to Australia, with nothing but pure admiration, smiles, and pride reflected in his sentiments. Colin will be deeply missed by all who knew him, but his memory will live in our hearts forever. I'd like to share from my heart, I'm thankful and grateful because I had a chance to know the incredible person that he is. And I will always remember his tenacity for life and his strength. I offer my blessings to Debbie, all of Colin's family and friends that attended from here and afar to celebrate his life and cherish those memories that honor the person he is. Thank you.
Hello. So my name is Sharon Monstein, and I am very proud to say that I have been a friend with Colin for like about the last 6 years. As everyone has said to you, he's a really special guy, right? And today we gather to celebrate a life of my dear friend who has left an indelible mark on, I think, each and every one of us. We've shared laughter, tears, and many memories with our remarkable friend. We were very fortunate to be, I was a maid of honor, and Sherman was the best man of Colin and Debbie's wedding in at the Scientology Celebrity Center, and we actually shared our rabbi from our wedding with Colin and Debbie, and it was a wonderful celebration, a wonderful day. So thank you for that. He was the heartbeat of every gathering, the one who could light up a room with his infectious smile and laughter. His presence was like a warm embrace, literally, actually. And he would welcome everyone with open arms and that just wonderful, genuine smile that he had. And what truly set him apart was his gift for storytelling, as I'm sure you will all know, right? From his adventures living in different countries, his businesses and successes and various anecdotes, they would literally come straight out of a novel, you would think. I had a story for every occasion, and each story was told with such passion and enthusiasm that transported us to his world. And one of the things that defined Colin was his deep love of Debbie and his family, who he spoke so fondly of on many occasions, especially his last visit to Australia. And what I'd say is Colin loved people. He just loved them. He cherished every moment. He cherished every moment spent with people he loved. And his devotion knew no bounds. Whether it was a simple family gathering or a trip abroad, he always made sure that to capture those precious moments and share them with us. And I'm sure many of us have seen those delightful photos that he'd sent of Coco in her various activities and with Debbie, and the wonderful pictures that he sent recently of his family in Australia and the kids. It was just wonderful. And, you know, Colin was always sharing his world and allowing us to have a glimpse of his wonderful life, even if we were miles apart. So I am so grateful for the time that we had together and the love that will continue to find us even in his absence. As we reflect on the time we've shared with Colin, let us remember not only the laughter and the joy, but also
his kindness, and the love that he brought into our lives. His spirit will live on in the stories we tell and the memories we cherish. So here's to our friend Colin, who loved people fiercely and lived life to the fullest. Though he may no longer be with us in body, his laughter echoes in our hearts, and his stories will be forever etched in our minds. Dear friend Colin, you will be dearly missed and never forgotten. Thank you.
Wow. Good friend to so many people. Amazing guy. So our next speaker is Dick Talbert, been a good friend of Colin's since moving to Florida.
Hello. This will be fairly brief as I only knew Colin for a couple of years, but he was magnetic. You know, it's like I connected with Debbie. We worked together about 50 years ago in LA. So I connected with her when my wife and I moved to Florida. We met him at an art exhibit, and immediately we hit it off. And each of you, I'm sure, experienced this with him. He was just like, would grab you, you know. And we soon became very good friends. He was an adventurer, storyteller, adventure. He invited us to a dinner one night at Debbie's house. And my wife is really picky on her filet mignon steaks. He made this filet mignon and she raved on about it for days. And I asked him, how long have you been doing that? And he goes, first one ever made. Serious? Yeah. So then I just looked it up, Googled it. You do this, you put the salt on, you do this for 40 minutes and this and that and the other. I never quite figured out after that, but that's a standard he set for me. Another example is he invited us to go to Maine, Debbie and Colin and Patty and myself. And he had this whole map created. There was how many kilometers, and it was in kilometers and miles, how many minutes from stop to stop, what restaurant we were going to go to. I mean, everything was completely detailed out, but he made such an adventure out of it. He was so excited to do that trip. And what a storyteller. We went out to dinner one night, and I said something about this wine. And he launched into this 30-minute dissertation about wine in South Africa and all the different kinds and how they're made. Just went on and on and on. I was like, Debbie turned to him at one point and goes, how do you know all this stuff, Colin? He goes, just know it, you know? And other times he'd tell stories and then she'd start to roll her eyes. And I said, have you heard that before? She said, yeah, it's about the 20 or 30th time I've heard that story. And he'd always start with mate, you know. When he got his new car, he called me up the next morning and said, we got to go for a ride. He was so excited about that car. He was always upbeat and positive, and some of you probably noticed the commendations out there, but I think they speak for themselves. It's like he was so helpful and so caring and charismatic, just a 1 in a million person. Miss him forever. Be well.
Thank you, Dick. And now another friend, Jim LaRocco.
Good evening. I would like to extend my condolences to Debbie, to Colin's family, and to Colin's friends. They said my name is Jim LaRocco. I had known Colin for a little over 2 years. Actually, my wife, Helena, first met Debbie and Colin at an art show. And she enjoyed talking with them and enjoyed their company. And she thought it would be nice if we went to dinner with them. So we did. That's when I met Colin. We had a lot in common, from similar age to similar philosophies in life. But the primary drive we had in common is that we both had ended our careers to move to Florida and needed a new adventure. We both investigated the possibility of notarizing home loans and decided to take the 2 to 3 month course that was available and get certified. The notary thing didn't work out. But during our learning phase, I got to know Colin much better. His attributes became apparent and never changed over the time I knew him. He shared all or any new information related to our venture. He wanted us both to succeed. He figured out better ways to do things. He looked at the parts and would give a faster, easier, less expensive way to get to the end point. He talked about wins and losses, good or bad. He would make it known and look at the why it happened. And for the good, he would figure out what happened and repeat it. And for the bad, he'd figure out what happened and not repeat it. Basically, he observed, handled, and moved on. Many times he originated how much he enjoyed life. He always said that with a passion. He did have a passion for life. And I'm happy that he and Debbie were able to live their many goals in their time together, including a new car, new house, a trip to Australia to visit family and friends. He put in a lot of aesthetic creation to the new house. And don't let me get started on his love and adoration, which is mutual, of Coco. He also was doing really well with his advanced studies at our church. He was a very likable guy. And when I look back at the time we had together, I always look back at it as a special time, a time to remember. For about 8 months, we communicated almost daily, either by text or email or phone, or all three in a day. I remember Colin inviting us to a cookout, and when we arrived, there were about 12 other guests. Colin was social-minded and liked getting lots of people together. All the cookouts I went to after that had lots of people included, and usually there were different people from the earlier cookouts. Debbie and Colin have a large circle of friends. And this brings me to why I really wanted to speak tonight. From my observation, Colin's last hours were happy. Colin asked us on his last Saturday if we wanted to get together later for coffee. We agreed, and I thought it would be the normal big social gathering. Instead, it was just Helena and me, Debbie and Colin, and Susan, a neighbor from their earlier location. It was a very nice, relaxing evening by the pool. We were all joking and laughing and just enjoying each other's company. It was a very pleasant and enjoyable evening by all. We said goodbye, and a few hours later, he passed away. Debbie called Helena Sunday morning to let her know that Colin had passed away. And Helena went over to the house to support and help Debbie in any way possible. When she arrived, Colin was still there and had not been moved. Helena told me he looked peaceful. No pain or stress or fear in his face. He looked like he was just relaxing on his sofa with his phone in his hand. It was satisfying to know that Colin was happy his last hours on earth, and that his departure was smooth and gentle. I truly like Colin and wish him a good journey to and through his next adventure. He was a good friend and I will miss him. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, so next we have Ruthie Yudovich, and she's going to introduce the cottage. There.
Hi. In memory of my dear friend Colin, whose kindness and warmth were always rolling. I first met him on the Freewind ship 20 years ago, memories still firmly grip. Years passed, and fate had its say. 3 years back, I moved to Clearwater, a new day. Colin and Debbie welcomed me with cheer, barbecue dinners, holidays, moments so dear. Together we cooked, shared stories and laughter. Wow. In each other's company, troubles scattered. One sunny day, so that's funny, but for one sunny day, a cruise we did take, remember? With Colin and Debbie, memories to make. Colin tales were like no other, vivid and bright, with much delight. But more than stories, his friendship true, a rock in storms, a sky so blue. He loved life and friends, embraced with cheer. His heart, big and generous, for all to hear. Always willing to help, a guiding light. In Colin's embrace, everything felt right. And just recently, a heart-to-heart we shared, affection and understanding in the air paired. Though he's gone, his spirit remains. In every memory, his presence sustains. Farewell, dear Colin, until we meet again. In my heart, you will forever reign. Okay, so the next thing we are going to recite a blessing. It's a Jewish blessing that we recite for the dead. In the Jewish tradition, when somebody passes away, we recite a prayer known as Kaddish. Kaddish translates to sanctification, making holy. Interestingly, though, the prayer is for the departed. It never mentioned the word death. Instead, it focuses on praising, exalting, glorifying, and blessing God. Why are we glorifying God in our mourning for a loved one? Ever wonder? The Jews among us? So here is the interpretation. In the book of Genesis, it stated that God created us in his image, right? Therefore, we are not unlike God. We are eternal beings, spirits that never perish. Thus, it's fitting to praise and glorify the eternal spirit, or as we call it in Scientology, the Satan. We may have lost the physical presence of Colin, but we have not lost the spiritual being, Colin. Colin, you will always be who you are. You are eternal, and you, the spirit, is deserving of praise and glory. There is a whole future ahead of you to create. And for the Kaddish, I think you have copies. in English and in Hebrew. And I would like to call Eli Berger.
It would be my honor to say Kaddish to Colin. I knew him very briefly, but he was a big person. So you can join me in reciting the Kaddish. יתגדל ויקדש מרבה. אמן. בעלמד דיברה חירותה וימליך מלכותה בחיי הון וביום הכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ועולמי עולמיה. יתברך ויסתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריך הוא. לאלה מכל ברכתה ושירתה ושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה משמיים חיים בעלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Thank you. And now, last speaker is Debbie. Would like to say a few words to end tonight's eulogies.
Hi again. I was married to Colin for 5 years. During that time, I did not learn about many of the things I learned tonight from his family and friends. But I'll tell you a little bit about us. We met, of all places, on Facebook, where I was promoting my art. As he liked to tell the story, quote, Debbie was trying to flog me one of her paintings. But I took it a step further, he would say proudly, and I married the artist. Now I can enjoy all of her paintings for free. What I learned about Colin during our time together was that he truly loved his family and his friends. And he would go out of his way to see them and stay in touch. Being in America gave him the opportunity to meet several cousins who he had never met before, and some are here tonight. This meant a lot to him. Colin had many loves. He loved chocolate. He loved sailing, swimming, and anything to do with water. He loved telling his favorite Jewish jokes, and he told them so well. He loved his red Mustang that he got less than a year ago. He loved music, mainly smooth jazz and Joe Bonamassa. He was always telling Alexa what music to play. But Alexa didn't like his voice. So he would end up walking over to her from across the room and right up in her face saying, Alexa, play smooth jazz. That's what worked. Colin was looking forward to once again picking up a guitar and playing. Unfortunately, he did not get to do that. He loved art, and he painted 5 or 6 paintings while living here. Some of them are on display in the hallway outside. And did I mention that he really loved chocolate? Each time he bought a bag of chocolates home, I questioned whether that was on his new diet that he had promised to start, or that he had just started. He always assured me he would eat only 1 piece a day. Somehow that bag was always empty the next day. Narina, you probably have stories about that too. Where are you? Colin proudly told people about how he had emigrated twice this lifetime first to Australia and South Africa in 1987, and again in 2018 to the US. He loved America, but adjusting to customs here wasn't always easy for him. For example, the day after he got his California driver's license, we took off with our puppy in the back seat and made our way cross country to Clearwater. I'll never forget the day that we were driving through Texas and he got confused about which side of the road he was supposed to be on. And he landed on the grassy triangle between the on-ramp and the off-ramp, spinning around. He was in a daze. He didn't quite know what had happened. And while living in Florida, there was the time when he must have thought he was back in Sydney, turned left into the oncoming traffic, and I got a few more gray hairs. I learned how important it was to Colin to offer food and drink to anyone who came by. The only bad one was the lamb chops that you had. They got much better after that. Whether it's the plumber or salesman or a friend, it didn't matter. And when we were hosting a party, he made sure we never ran out of food. In fact, after most parties, we were stocked with leftovers for the next few weeks. I learned this lesson so well that when I did the shopping for our housewarming party in our new home at the end of December, I was determined to not give Colin a reason to worry about running out of food. I definitely accomplished my goal, and we ate leftover quiche for 2 meals a day for the next 2 weeks. And we snacked on huge blocks of cheese from Costco for the next 3 months. And that's no exaggeration. Colin loved his life. He loved coming into the course room in the church and helping other students get through their studies. He loved his job and spent countless hours helping the company organize and streamline their business practices, improving their credit with vendors, and jumping in to help wherever he could. He loved our new home and spent the last 4 months setting everything up for maximum comfort and aesthetics. And he loved our doggy Coco, who he played with, held in his lap, and spoiled. Colin, you will be missed. There'll be one more song after the Scientology funeral service. I picked it not because I wanted a song about us. I wanted a song that everyone here tonight can listen to and remember your relationship to Colin. And it's especially for his family, his son, his daughter, his sister. I think it's what Colin would want you to know. Thank you.
I'm very glad that Colin had 5 years with Debbie. Okay, so now this is the Scientology funeral ceremony. I think some of you may have heard Scientology ceremony before. There may be some words you don't understand. You can always check with me later, but I think you'll understand it pretty well. Our loss is gain in other times. Our hopes on future bent must then depend on incident like these. For bodies wear, and in the fine gristmill of time are spent in service such as yours, and go our time by smallest time into the yesterday wherein began the conquest of eternity. What did we know when yesterday we wept? What grip upon us had our ignorance, that we in our conceit did feel that all of us were mortal here, and lives once led were spent and wasted on our selfish selves. How narrow is such scope, to feel that we should be eternally the goal of all the toil and wretchedness from birth to death. And like a play, the curtain dropped and left an empty stage. How dull of us to feel that we were all the target of this strike, that we lived but once, and living then did reconcile the whole in that one brief life. Oh no, a wider drama here was planned and staged, and we with narrowness of mind did overlook the plan. We said that all is mortal flesh, the spirit just a thing to send for pence to some strange heaven, there to waste its skill? Or have we not the price to some deep other place, to pain and waste again the life? To what dark depths were dropped our minds to feel that flesh is capable of love or trust or livingness? To feel that fingernails and masks are all we need to dream? To what deep place did our love go that masks could recompense? Anxieties that ruled our years were nurtured here, and we, made blind and numb by other greed, spanned down our lives to one. What waste to feel that all our love, our work, our gifts, our knowledge, and our sighs were meant to be consumed all by one breath and flash and by one name. Today, come wiser now, the chains gone weak, the tyranny of cult gone tired with the years, we look, we find we live not once, but on and on, from body's birth to body's grave, and then to birth again, and yea, to grave again. So to dispose possessions oft come undone with livingness. From century to century, from age to age, and on, we go and march along the path that leads forever up the countless stick of time. We crawl, we walk, we fly, we win from here and evermore the heritage of all our lives and spend it once again. Why, this is no sad and bleakish look, no sour thing, this life. This is an adventure pure, where without knife or provender we leap aloft into eternity and span forever in a breath. This is adventure, where we step from tie to body tie and go our way. Our suffering is self-centered here, for we have lost, in truth, the smile, the touch, the skill and happiness we gained from Colin, who gave to us from his past ability to live and fare against the tides and storms of fate. It's true we've lost his shoulder up against the wheel, but lost as well his counsel and strength, but lost them only for a while. He goes not with a dismal roll drum, but with a whisper like a fairy's sigh, to smooth the way for when we come. He'll be in some good future time and future place, his smile, his touch, his skill invested there to make a way for life. True, we may not know him then, and only know his word. But still, if we send not ahead our vedettes into time, we would not have a race. And so branched off from this genetic line into some new corner or new world, we've sent you, Colin, and there they'll be, we know it now, a smile, a touch, a happiness for us and you could not find on earth. And so it turns, the day, the year, the age, and so we go with banners furled and quietly upon our way. But now we know, and now we'll find the way. Into the dark has come the light. Into tomorrow enters night. Into heaven go no more. Into light our spirits soar, conquering ever wisdom's store. We do not tremble faced with death. We know that living is not breath. Prevail. Go, Colin, and take the life that offers now, and live in good expectancy that we will do our part. Go, Colin, you can control that which you must. Our loss is gain in wisdom and in skill to future dates and other smiles. And so we send into the chain of all enduring time our heritage, our hope, our friend. Goodbye, Colin. Your people thank you for having lived. Earth is better for your having lived. Men, women, and children are alive today because you lived. We thank you for coming to us. We do not contest your right to go away. Your debts are paid. This chapter of thy life is shut. Go now, dear Colin, and live once more in happier time and place. Thank you, Colin. All now, lift your eyes and say to him goodbye. Ah. Goodbye, our dear, goodbye. We'll miss you, you know. And that is done. Come, friends, he is all right. He is gone. We have our work to do. And he has his. He will be welcome there to man. Okay, now we end with a song.
Who can save yourselves now? Maybe you're still here. I feel you all around me. You're very so good. You're so nice. I can hear you speak. You're someone inspiration.
Thank you all for coming. The refreshments out back. And enjoy yourself. Thank you.
I was just texting you.